going to go back to the days of, you know, the way it was, you know, Kobe and, you know, like the back and forths at the end and stuff like that. But like I said,
King G and them.
Yes, I do feel like there were some changes. Like it started to get better, and then this to me feels like an abomination. So I'm hoping.
Oh, abomination! It wasn't that bad.
It really was.
Question.
Yes.
Can something be hard to watch if nobody watched it?
Don't try it, Mike. Don't try it.
Record low ratings for the All-Star game, so what y'all complaining about? Clearly y'all have better things to do anyway, right?
Well, ratings are an interesting thing, right? Because it tracks how people do it from the beginning to the end. So there were a lot of people who started to watch it and then tapped out because they were like, oh, come on, I'm not spending my time on this. Listen, it was just really bad. And you know how I felt about like people saying, oh, it's All-Star. What do you expect? It's always like this. This
yeah,
is
I said
like,
people. Yeah, I'm one of those people.
But you know, this is an extreme example. But it's sort of like, you know, when like people would talk about the presidential candidates, like Trump and Hillary, and they're like, oh, but they're both bad candidates. It's like these are not two equals. It's not. Like it was just really, 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 really awful. Now, hopefully, even though it was an abomination, it was just an aberration. I do know that the All-Star game.
All right, with them LSAT words. All right. That's a bar right there.
I do know that the All-Star game, generally, it's not as competitive as it used to be. It's not as exciting. And that's why the league implemented many, you know, different things to try to help it. And to me, it was getting a little bit better. I do think the city plays like a major factor in it. And I'm a little concerned because next year, I believe, is in Indiana. I hear the Bucks, you know, are looking to make their city, you know, one of the All-Star cities. And I get it. Like every city should get a chance. But I would worry with some of those cold weather cities and certain locations that maybe don't have as much going on in them, you could see a similar result.
I haven't done this level of research, but do we know historically whether there's, because I mean, the All-Star game has been in a lot of places. It hasn't always been in Vegas or New Orleans or Miami or LA. Historically, is there a correlation between location and the quality of the performance? I would venture to say no. I think we're looking for reasons why this year's was so extraordinarily bad, and we're pointing at Utah, which frankly, Utah is an easy target. Okay, you know, nobody wants to go to Utah. You know, let's talk about the Sundance Film Festival. So I get it, all right? It doesn't seem to jive or fit with NBA culture. So I get that. I don't know that that translates to the court. What I think, and it's so soon to make this proclamation, but I think the draft wasn't all it was cracked up to be. The draft was not only supposed to be entertaining to do it live, like in the playground, as opposed to doing it on TNT. You mentioned the ratings breakdowns. I think the half hour preceding the game, if I read this correctly, the half hour preceding the game, there was a ratings increase for the draft.
Yep.
And that was cool to see who was going to get picked in what order. And Giannis's little notepad was funny, and you know, and him picking Ja prematurely. There were some good moments. Aside from Chuck and Kenny and Shaq not realizing that their mics were hot, it was pretty damn good. And sidebar, when TNT screws up, that makes me feel a lot better. Like, I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I should worry about some of our technical difficulties. It happens to the best of us, right? Anyway, I digress. Because you know how I get around here, so I digress. But the draft was also supposed to spark and instill a level of competitive pride that would make the players play harder. Like, oh, you didn't pick me, or okay, we going against each other. Okay, and it didn't play out that way, except for the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown snapshot of it all. So what we're missing is not just a level of commitment to what this game represents, but a level of intensity that, frankly, Natalie, I don't know that we're ever going to see again. And here's why. Because I've seen some people say, all right, just go back to East and West. And I even invoke Bud Selig. And once upon a time, he was ridiculed for putting World Series home field advantage on the line in the All-Star game. but raising the stakes. Obviously, I forget who said it, but money does talk. It might have been Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Money does talk, and do, I guess, what do you get the people with everything? Give them more of everything. So these rich dudes, give them more money. Maybe they'll show up and play. I don't know. I'll say what I said on Tuesday or Monday, I think it was, for those that may have missed it. You cannot realistically expect players in a day and age in which they don't take the regular season seriously to take an exhibition seriously, no matter what city it's played in. So when it comes to going back to East and West, I don't know, and even if the stakes are increased, I don't know that would even bring about the old school intensity that we remember, and here's why. And we talked about it, but I never really connected the two things. Because we had Vinny on Monday, right? It all kind of runs together for me.
Yes.
It was me, you, and Vinny.
Yes.
And we were talking about player movement, this era of player movement, and how it hurts the game. I don't think it hurts the game. I think it hurts this game. Because back in the day, when players stayed with teams for longer periods of time and built rivalries, not just among one another, but between organizations, that's when East-West mattered. Or that's when having Jordan and Isaiah on the same team mattered. Now, with players moving so much, playing together so much, teaming up so much, working out together so much, they're all friends. So if you want to know why it looks like a pickup game, because they might as well be a bunch of dudes meeting on a Saturday playing pickup, because that's what it is. So even if they do pick their teammates, they're not picking anybody that they're reluctant to pick. LeBron picking Kyrie and they dapping it up and they hugging it out. It's all good. There's no hatred on the part of East and West because there's no more Lakers Celtics. There's no more Pistons Bulls. There's no more Jazz Bulls. There's no more dudes that just don't like each other. And so if you don't like each other, if you like each other during the regular season and y'all all hanging out at the same parties, there was once upon a time, and I remember I think it was Giannis that got a lot of credit for saying that he did not want to work out with any of his competition. Was that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Giannis. Mm-hmm. There was a time when these dudes didn't want nothing to do with each other. When Magic and Bird doing a commercial together was like, oh, okay, they actually burying the hatchet to do this Converse commercial.
Yep.
Nowadays, they're all too buddy-buddy. And so I just think that this ship has sailed. So what I would ask, I never said that it was not a bad exhibition, as exhibitions go. I just said, this is what it's going to be, and it is what it is. So I would ask, what is the realistic solution to where, like you said, this abomination turns out to be just an aberration? How do we fix this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I don't know that I alone or anyone has the answers, but I think getting the dudes at the top to buy in and work with them to figure it out, because, Bron, Steph, KD, those guys are still at the top. And again, Bron left the game early. I mentioned this when we were on Monday. Steph didn't play, KD didn't play. I think those guys, the way they grew up, and Steph with his father, and they grew up, Kevin Durant idolizes Kobe. I just think they appreciate what the All-Star game meant a little bit more. And I think if you somehow get them to lead with the importance somehow with the younger players, then maybe they'll follow suit. So I think that's one way. I mentioned before, partnering with Nike in some way. I still want to kind of push back a little bit, though, on the location argument. And I guess another year maybe will tell us, or maybe it won't tell us anything. But I think not just the ratings were low, but even attendance, and when you're in a city like a LA or a New York, all the stars come out, people come out. Mm-hmm. And I think the players are inclined to put on a show, when there's a big audience and when there's people there.
The stars were just there, so maybe they left. I mentioned Sundance. The stars were all just in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, so I just don't think it was as many, I know they were there for Sundance, but so I do think that plays a factor. And I do think overall, when you just don't want to be in a place and you're unhappy to be there, and again, no one has come out and said that.
Sure.
But it affects all the other stuff you do. It's like when I work at a place I don't enjoy, I show up and do my work, but you don't get the best version of Natalie.
No, I hear you. Listen, since we sound like old men and women yelling at clouds, and this is a bunch of get off my lawn stuff, maybe I don't know what kind of condition. I know Shaq and Chuck can't do it, But are there some old heads out there that could still get buckets? Because if this going to be a glorified layup line with no defense and no physicality involved, let's get the old school versus the new school together. Maybe the old, show these young bucks how it's done. Some of these old dudes can still get out there and hoop, get out there and have a greats game, an all-timers game versus a contemporary game, like the kids do in 2K now anyway. I don't know if you play 2K. My son plays it. I watch it. All-time Lakers and all-time Bulls and all-time. So maybe we do something like that.
You got to get some of those guys from. Oh, sorry. So you got to get some of those guys from Ice Cube's league, and maybe some of them can come play.
There you go. Switching gears real quick, because I'm just looking at your feed. You still on this MVP thing? And by the way, since I'm not as active in these Twitter streets as I used to be, my mentions ain't exactly, popping, right? So I check Twitter every now and then. I don't expect to see a shit ton of notifications. But lo and behold, boy, where are these notifications coming from? Did I do something? Did I say something? Like, what I missed? It's Natalie, and Natalie disguised as the brother from another handle, the Holly and Smith handle. So from both accounts, going back and forth about this damn MVP thing. What else do you have to say about this? Why is this keeping you up at night or early in the morning, as the case may be?
It's not keeping me up at night, but we talked about MVP, and our audience had a lot of reactions to it that we will get in tomorrow when we get into the comments, but they loved our discussion. And so I thought, let's make sure that NBA Twitter knows about it, and they had a lot to say. So, I should share good content when it's available, and that's why I did it. Michael Smith, isn't that what you want me to do?
That is what you're supposed to do. So you got postscripts on this. Embiid should have been MVP by player standards. Elaborate.
Yes, well, there was a survey that was conducted of several players who were at the All-Star, asking them a bunch of different questions. And one of them was about whether or not there should be a minimum standard in terms of the number of games players have to play. I mean, you mentioned it on your feed.
I think it was DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan said 78. Yeah.
Yeah, his take was a little ridiculous, but the rest of the players were all sort of I don't think there should be really any standard, or if you're hooping, 50 games. There were a variety of different takes. I think, De'Aaron Fox was maybe the 60, range, but they didn't feel as strongly about that. And so I'm just tying it back to Embiid, because a knock against him always was the number of games played and, that kind of a thing. And so I'm just saying, if that was something we took away and weren't so focused on it, then to me, that really would make him the MVP. Or he should have at least won one of these, past two. I already said I thought it should have been him last year.
Personal question.
Yes.
Personal question.
Sure.
I didn't think to ask this on the other day we talked about it, Tuesday. I didn't think to ask this when we talked about
Nervous.
Don't be nervous. No, don't be nervous. We found out at the Super Bowl in Arizona that you are an Eagles fan.
I am.
Are you also a Sixers fan?
No.
Oh, no, you're a Warriors fan. But do you like, you're a Warriors fan. Everybody knows that. But do you have any connection or?
In Philadelphia a long time ago, but the Warriors.
Okay, I didn't know we know why you like the Eagles because of their quarterbacks. I didn't know if you had, maybe more than one team. I know you ride and die for the Warriors. And, again, the Warriors once were in Philadelphia, so there you go.
You don't know this. My other team is the Celtics in the East. Not above the Warriors, but that's who, if I'm rooting for an East team, it's the Celtics.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And the reason I asked that was because this all comes back to you just can't get over last year. You've acknowledged that Jokic is deserving. You don't think he's deserving of being the runaway MVP favorite. The first one I think you're probably fine with, other than the fact that Giannis was, according to you, operating under a double standard when it comes to voter fatigue than what we're seeing with Nikola Jokic now.
Yep.
It seems like your biggest issue is last year's. Because Embiid didn't get it last year. It sounds like Embiid would have been yours.
Yes, Embiid would have been mine last year, but that's my biggest issue. And just from what my perception, what I believe is the voting media applying a different standard than they typically do to players who win consecutive MVPs. And that's it. It's not a personal issue with Jokic, and I know that's hard for people to separate.
It's not an issue with Jokic, but it is an issue with your guy didn't win. And I'm not saying that you're not objective, you don't look at the facts, you don't look at the statistics, but you and I have been talking on and off camera about narrative. Ain't no new thing under the sun. narrative has always been around. Everybody votes according. I never denied that narrative was a part of it. What I'm saying is, who's to determine what narrative is better than another one? And that's subjective. That's totally subjective.
Right, but you also mentioned this yesterday with the Russ, like when we were talking about Russ and that I was suggesting something different was done for him. It's not about a narrative. The MVP award is always narrative driven. That's not what I'm saying.
Correct, because everybody's got great stats.
Right. What I'm saying is the standard of typically being best player on the best team. And what I mean by that is not literally the best player on the number one team, but typically a player who's at the top. So top 1 through 3 seed who's putting up the stats. That's what I'm saying is the difference of what happened. It happened with Russ. And then with Jokic, it did as well. Like eventually his team got up, I think, into the top 4 seed. But if you look back at the first 2 seasons when he won MVP, the way those seasons started, there was a point in time that they were below 500 and you weren't even sure if they were going to get to a top 4 seed. It's just not typical of when we're looking at an MVP. We're not considering players who are like low in the standings and it's just not typical of what happens. And I supported his first MVP. I thought it could have been him or Embiid, but I was really fine with either. And I remember arguing with Philly fans like, stop it. You guys are acting like he doesn't deserve it, and he does. Yeah. And then the second one, I just really felt that I felt that Embiid deserved it. I felt he played the requisite number of games that people, ding him for. And so I did feel he was the candidate. But again, in no year do I think Jokic didn't put up an MVP level year.
You made that clear. Two things we do true at the same time. On Embiid, sidebar, I agree with DeMar DeRozan. I think there should be a pretty high threshold of games played. Back in the day, they used to play all 82 games. This low maintenance thing should not curb the standard by which we judge MVPs, because the best ability is availability. I think it does matter if you're available to your team far more often than not. Sometimes you can't control it. Sometimes guys get hurt, and that's just bad luck. But nonetheless, if you play every game, you should be rewarded. That should factor into it somewhat. Not the end all be all, but somewhat. Secondly, I get that it may feel like when we look back, we'll try to say, wait, how does a guy like Joel Embiid not have an MVP award? How did he have this brilliant stretch of his career and not have one MVP to show for it? There's a lot of NBA players who were born at the wrong time. And Nikola Jokic, I just maintain, is performing at such a historic level with the team. And we talked about them not having the best record in the league. They got about 1 game to the Celtics.
No, yes, that's where they are right now. But what I'm saying is, to me, I look at the race. To me, one of the issues I have with the MVP race is that a lot of times what happens earlier in the season is forgotten, right? And so when I say the Celtics have had the best record in the NBA, yes, right now they're close.
I thought you were going to say when Embiid worked Nikola Jokic head to head.
Yeah, no, he did. No, he did. But when I say the difference in their record is minor right now. But the Celtics got off to such a hot start, and they were dominant for most of the season, and they were playing so well. And I think there's something to be said when you just start off like that and you're dominant and you're great, and to not overlook it. And so a lot of things like with Embiid in the past year, like he started off hot. But then, he had some injuries, some things happen, and that sort of gets forgotten for, what happens later in the year. So one of the things people brought up is, Jokic worked him in the head-to-head last year. And I'm like, what are we doing? But, do we forget what happened in the earlier games? So that's what I mean. It's a whole season, and I don't know that that's always looked at in full when we're considering these things.
Well, speaking of which, let's get to, before we bring in Curt Helin from Pro Basketball Talk. But first, I want to see you had some homework for us, your top 5 storylines as the NBA season resumes tonight.
Yeah, so MVP race, no shock. I want to know if Embiid or Tatum can overtake Jokic. And I think part of the reason that might be possible is because of Giannis's injury, which is unfortunate, but it makes way for the Celtics to create some separation in the East, or also for the Sixers to get the second.
So their narrative can be helped, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Continue.
How will KD and Kyrie affect the West standings? Self-explanatory, right? They're in the West, so the West is jumbled. Let's see what happens there now with the additions of those players. And then I think additionally, The Lakers, I mean, people always care about the Lakers, right? They always care about Bron. And so they made some changes. I'm not moved by them, but let's see. Will it be enough for them to make, I should have said the play-in probably, but will it be enough for them to make the playoffs?
Right.
Yeah, and then also, will Westbrook help or hurt the Clippers? Yeah, it's like they were starting to look good, and now I don't know. And then also just the buyout market. Like, will there be any more action in the buyout market? And those are my top 5 storylines.
Very well done. Now, our own Curt Helin from Pro Basketball Talk, they have their own top 5 storylines, which he has listed on ProBasketballTalk.com here at NBC Sports. And with that, we welcome in Curt Helin to talk some sense into me. Natalie has all the sense when it comes to these NBA conversations.
No, we got to talk some sense into Natalie.
No.
How do you leave it? No. Giannis's injury is not going to keep him out of this. He's only going to miss a game or two, and he is storming the MVP race. Like, I don't think you can leave him out. Like,
I don't leave him out.
He's in the middle of it, man.
But because he's injured right now, that's why I said that. But I don't leave him out. And I would like any one of those players to get a real chance.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to miss too much time. And knock on wood over here somewhere.
I hope not.
But if he only misses a game or two, it's not a big deal. But I'm also with Michael. Like, I don't even look at when I'm one of those voters that you can yell at from last year. I don't look at games played as much as minutes. Like, I want to see how big a gap there are. Like, if you put, somebody was talking about this, if you put the games played, like, you got to play 70 games, you're going to get a bunch of Giannis in the All-Star game. I'm going to score this first bucket, I'm out. Moments where guys are like, played in the game,
That's a good point.
Like, minutes played. And right now, by the way, it's not that huge a gap. Like, it's even with all the injuries and stuff, because, I mean, Jokic has missed a little time. He's got about 150 minutes on Embiid and Antetokounmpo, who are really close, and Tatum's got a few more because he hasn't really missed much time. So, like, I don't know that that's going to be as big a factor this year.
I hope not.
So Natalie and I have been going back and forth seemingly like all week about this straw poll from ESPN, which has Nikola Jokic in a comfortable lead with only 23 games left. How do you feel about that?
I wasn't surprised Giannis was in front, but I was surprised by the gap. Like, I was surprised it was that far back. Was it Giannis second and was it Tatum third or Embiid third? I was surprised. Like, was it 77 first place votes? I think that gap caught me off guard because to me, like, it's really close. It's just I'm watching these last few months and trying to get as much of these guys in person as I can when they're coming, especially if they're coming through LA, but also watch a lot of them because I really think the stretch is going to matter for this. And Natalie touched on this. It is so hard to avoid recency bias. It is so hard to say what I see over those last 23 games is going to weigh this more than some of the other things. So
Curt, not to put you on the spot to have to speak for all your fellow voters, but the source of our conversation has been to what would you attribute when nobody's won 3 straight in nearly 40 years since Larry Bird? To what would you attribute Nikola Jokic having such a healthy lead? You see it as close. Natalie sees it as close. Why does he have such a healthy lead? What's at play here?
I think part of it is I think we value, like, there's a certain level of, hey, there's a lot of historic precedent here, right? Because we're talking about Bird was the only one voted in by the media 3 times. The players did, Russell and Wilt. But the weight of that was going to be, like, how much was that going to carry? And I think with a lot of media members, it carries less than it used to. Like, that precedent, that history isn't carrying the same weight. And even for me, who's like, man, if he's going to do it this year, if I'm going to vote for Jokic at the end, and I was thinking this before the start of the season, he's going to have to blow the doors off of everybody. Like, he's going to have to be crazy. He's going to have to do something like average a triple-double.
And he hasn't done that. Well, he's averaging a triple-double,
yeah. He has. He's averaging a triple-double. He's got the best team in the West. And like you said, not far off the best record in the NBA. He's kind of lived up to that holy cow standard, or other words instead of cow.
You can say it on this show.
Yeah, sure, I can't say it on the show. We're on the holy shit standard. standard of this thing. Like, he was going to have to do that, and he's done it enough where now you got to put him in the mix. So I haven't done I haven't done a crazy deep dive into this. I'm just watching it really closely over the last month. There's only, outside of Boncaro, I don't think anybody's run away. Well, maybe De'Aaron Fox with clutch, although I don't know quite what to do with that one. I don't know that anybody's running away with an award.
So listen, before we look ahead and get to y'all storylines, because there's a lot of similarities between y'all storylines for the remainder of the season, do want to just put a bow on our ongoing All-Star conversation. I know you've called it unwatchable. I'm just asking for solutions at this point. How do we fix it?
Yeah, I wish I had a good answer for you, because you kind of were touching on it. We asked Jason, wasn't me, but in the media room afterwards, Tatum's up on the thing, and he was honest, right? And he's like, somebody said, wouldn't you rather play in a game with some defense and some intensity? And he's like, safety first. I do not want to get hurt. I do not want to be. And I think as long as, we'll call it the load management mindset, but I have got to be at my peak, I'm not going to risk anything mindset is out there, then I don't know what you do other than, Corey Robinson on our podcast the other day was like, hey, let's just turn this into a convention. Let's just do away with the game and make it Comic-Con.
A televised convention.
We'll do
yeah.
And we'll do a 3-point contest and a dunk contest, but like, why are we doing this game? Because there's, you could try to do 3-on-3 or something, and it's going to look like the flag football thing. Like, it's just, I don't know that there's a good answer, because I don't know, and I know you guys talked about this, I don't know how you get the players to care. You can throw some gimmicks in there, but ultimately,
right. I
don't know what you do to get them to care. And you can't offer, like somebody said, what about offering them more money to win? These are the max players. Like, how much do you have to
exactly.
Right.
I don't think that's feasible, man.
Listen. Well, it didn't rate as well as the Pro Bowl, so we know what a grip the NFL has on this country, but it has fallen on hard times, and it can't outrate what's passed for the Pro Bowl right now. Okay, as Natalie said earlier, everybody cares about the Lakers. You both have that in your top storylines. Yeah. Curt, does LeBron miss the playoffs for the second straight season? Is the all-time leading scorer at home watching the playoffs?
They're, as much as everybody's like, oh, hey, they're only like 3.5 games out of the 6 seed, whatever. They're 13th, man. They got a lot of teams to climb over, and I don't think it's going to be that easy. But the teams they got to climb, some of the teams, the Golden State, Natalie's Warriors, they'll get Curry back. They'll make the playoffs. I'm not really questioning that. But the Pelicans without Zion, can they keep hanging on? What about Minnesota? Does Mike Conley save them? Like, there are teams that the Lakers can climb over. I just think I like the moves they made at the trade deadline. I think they got better. I think Vanderbilt was a sneaky, really good pickup. Just somebody, hey, does the dirty work. There wasn't really enough of that going on. I think they get in, but I don't think I think they end up 7 or 8. They scare the heck out of Memphis or Denver in the first round, but that's as far as it goes.
Curt,
Part of the story. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Natalie.
Yeah, I'm curious, just about the West in general, because the way the standings are there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about how you think what's going to happen with the West, with these last remaining games. Like, are the Suns now going to make a push? Are my Warriors going to make a push? I have thoughts on that, but that's fine. What about the Mavs? Like, it's just there's so much that's potential to change.
By the way, I loved what Draymond said about your Warriors and the defense. Like, we gotta want it. We gotta stop waiting for it to flip the switch and go get it. Because I think that's just kind of where they are. My number one thing to watch was just this, and Tatum's the teams that really make these deep playoff runs. March is when you see it, not the last week or two when everybody's kind of resting, get ready for the playoffs. Right. But March is when all those teams click, and that's kind of what I'm watching for in the West. Is it Denver? Because I think Denver's got all the pieces. They certainly have the matchup nightmare in Jokic. Jamal Murray we've seen him, it was in the bubble, but we saw him go off in the playoffs. Michael Porter Jr. makes a difference. Aaron Gordon's had a fantastic, they've got depth. I like it, but I want to see them click in this stretch. What about, does Memphis, and then there's the Phoenix question. The $1 million, on paper,
they don't have a lot of time to gel.
Big Five.
They don't have a lot of time. I mean, I know they're talented enough to just roll the ball out and they can get buckets, but it's like we've seen how super teams can implode for one reason or another. You mean to tell me they just gonna like be a contender? And I mean the Nets tried that, for crying out loud, and having not played together and contending in 20 games. Assuming Durant comes back next week, they're gonna be a contender. I'm skeptical.
You should be.
Here's the thing I'm really, I am too. Because I'm not sure about their defense, but here's the thing I'm really watching. DeAndre Ayton. Hey, DeAndre, I know you've been really happy so far and gotten along great with everybody and your coach. What we're going to do is take away some of your post touches. We're going to ask you to set picks, roll to the rim, play defense and rebound, and just be a glorified fourth option role player. You good with that? That's the kind of thing I'm watching. Like, if he buys in and everybody buys in, and maybe they can develop some chemistry and build a little in the first round, and who knows? Because on paper, Kevin Durant's instant contender, man. You just add water, instant contender. But guys, do you believe Natalie? Do you buy on DeAndre Ayton playing a role?
I don't, and I mean, I just feel like we've seen in the postseason where he's become absent and irrelevant, and they actually need him to be great. So, yeah, I'm not a buyer on the Suns. I would actually love it if the Warriors beat them. So that's my hope to see them in the postseason.
Shocker. I would love it if the Warriors beat insert team here. Just like Kevin Durant, add Curt Helin. Just add Curt Helin and you instantly get smarter on all things NBA. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
That's kind of you. Take care, man.
Bye, Curt. It's always great talking to you.
Bye, Natalie.
So if Rodgers opts to play, you would think the Jets, despite all the noise about, hey, would he like New York? Would he be hesitant to go to New York? Which makes sense and adds up a little bit. But from a roster and football standpoint, the Jets are the best option for Aaron Rodgers at this point if he's trying to win a Super Bowl in, we'll say, these final 2 years. There's just a lot of logistics to figure out with the cap, with the trade package, and how to work around those things, especially if it's before June 1st, which makes the salary implications a little different. But that's all going to come down to what Aaron Rodgers wants, and good luck figuring that out.
Which is why, Connor Rogers, my question to you, hi, by the way, my question to you would be, the Jets, from a roster standpoint, may be the best option for Aaron Rodgers, as you said. But is Aaron Rodgers really the best option for the Jets? If you're the New York Jets, and listen, I'm all about mental health. I'm all about doing what you got to do to center yourself. But do you really want to like attach yourself to a dude who was just in like a hobbit's cave or some shit, you know, with like in darkness, and like to make a decision about whether or not to make $60 million from the Packers or whether to ask for a trade to wherever he wants to go? I mean, he's probably there for 1 year. Didn't y'all go down this road before with, I don't know, another former Packers quarterback? I mean, I get that the Jets are trying to end this playoff, this non-playoff stretch. I get it. I get that they're ready to win now. But it's like, it just feels like this has the potential to blow up in their face, dealing with the guy whose own organization lets some people like Bob McGinn, who's been around for a long time, whose own organization is tired of him. And now the Jets want in on this mess. I don't know if he's the right guy for them, Connor.
This is what happens, Michael, when you miss at number 2 on a quarterback and you start shopping in the clearance aisle. And it's no disrespect, not calling Aaron Rodgers a clearance quarterback, but every single quarterback that you look at will have their issues, whether it's Derek Carr.
Off Fifth is a great store. I don't know about you. Saks off Fifth Avenue is a great store. You can find great stuff there. So there's that.
Absolutely. I think when it comes down to it, the Jets are a desperate team at the quarterback spot. And they're trying to figure out if any of these guys want them. I don't think it's a layup that Derek Carr wants to be there, to be honest with you. When I was at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama, everything I had heard was the Saints before that visit.
That makes sense.
We'll see where that goes. And then you look at Rodgers, nobody knows what he wants at all. I've heard every single corner, whether it's retirement, evenly with going back to Green Bay, evenly with playing somewhere else. And there's just not a lot of places for him to go play when you look at it right now. And then, I mean, honestly, the best option for the Jets that seems unattainable, because I can't see Baltimore ever doing this, would be to put the best package together to get Lamar Jackson, where you have your guy for a very, very long time. But Baltimore, if they trade him, which it feels like every day we get closer to that, it seems so insane, it has to be to the NFC. So this is the problem the Jets find themselves in right now. They are absolutely desperate.
Well, you mentioned desperate. They're so desperate, Natalie. My old friend Dan Rossini said this. They told Derek Carr, and people think I got a problem with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the official quarterback and brother from another. I like Derek Carr. I just don't think he's great. I think he's fine. They told this dude, this is one of those where you tell, Connor, close your ears, Natalie. Connor, you know how sometimes you got to tell her whatever you got to tell her. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes you. Hey, you know, you just sometimes you say I love you. You don't really mean it, but it's necessary in the moment, right? The Jets told this dude that you're gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer if you in here. Come on, bro. Like I mean, you ain't gotta be that thirsty where you gotta lie to the man.
Not you telling me to close my ears, Connor. I would like to know, in terms of, well, one, I want to know what you think, like who you think is the best fit. Interestingly enough, we put up a poll, and you brought up Lamar, but so it sounded like Lamar would be someone who you would think is interesting there. But we put up a poll like on our social just to see what our viewers thought. And Carr is leading the race, but we had Carr, we had Rodgers, and we had Lamar Jackson. So I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. It feels like the consensus with the public because they don't want to deal with two things with Aaron Rodgers: himself, and how mysterious he is, and the fact that he can come play for a year like Brett Favre did, and then retire, go somewhere else, whatever it may be, just not want to be there in New York. And then the other part of it is the trade package as well. You do have to trade for Aaron Rodgers while you just have to sign Derek Carr. But I go back to what Michael said. I don't really think Derek Carr is great. I don't know if Derek Carr is good. I think Derek Carr is fine. Does fine get you far in the AFC against Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson? We'll see if Deshaun Watson can get back on stride next year with the Browns. We don't know that. It's not good enough. I don't. It's just pure honesty, and it's really blunt, and it's a tough thing to say to Jets fans and that fan base I've connected with from doing Jets pre and post game all year, every single Sunday. But I think Carr puts them in a position where they're looking at it and going, this guy will be good enough that maybe we don't get fired, but I don't think he's good enough to win them playoff games. And that's a really tough fine line to balance.
I like how you put that. Let's turn now, because you and I will see each other in Indianapolis next week for the scouting combine. Let's turn now to the teams who are looking at quarterbacks the old-fashioned way at the top of the draft. And I want to start with, well, it doesn't feel like there's a consensus one, because I think Stroud is probably the most prototypical polished passer. He showed some athleticism against Georgia that otherwise had not been consistently on display during his Ohio State tenure. Bryce Young's the playmaker, but I want to ask about him in a second. Of course, Anthony Richardson has all the upside in the world, your annual boomer bust prospect, given how little he played at Florida. Bryce Young, though, has there been a more important measurement in recent combine history than the height and weight of Bryce Young that we're going to find out next week?
I don't think so. Since I've been doing this, the one I think of that was scrutinized was Kyler Murray, but Kyler was a thicker quarterback. He got over that 200-pound mark, and people really didn't care about his height as much because he's one of the most electric runners we've seen at the position, high school to college, and then he took that to the NFL level, where they didn't think he'd be in position to get hit a ton, where Bryce is a situation that, real talk, he's not going to come in at 200 pounds. He's not going to come in at 6 feet tall. I would put the over-under at 5'10 and a half for his height. I would say if he can get to 190, that's a massive win for him. And that's crazy to say about a quarterback. And keep in mind, I have him as a top 5 player. I think he's the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
I think the tape doesn't lie. I think he can come in and actually play at a really high level right away in the right offense that protects him and has decent, not great, decent wide receivers, because he throws with anticipation, he throws with timing, he can manipulate the pocket with his feet. His size, to me, has no impact on his play, in or out of the pocket. But if he takes one big shot, what is that going to do to him at under 200 pounds and a guy that's not 6 feet tall? And that's going to be the talk of town when evaluators go up and stack him, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and a little further away from me than Will Levis. So a fascinating measurement for Bryce Young. This is going to be hyped up around the combine.
I'm glad you distinguished, you separated Will Levis, because my next question was going to be, it seems like it's like pick whichever flavor you like. I mean, some people love the tools of Anthony Richardson and the makeup, even though he lacks the experience. Stroud, all he did was light it up at Ohio State. It seems like he has the least amount of questions. So I would ask you, put your GM hat on before we let you go. If you're the Colts, shall we say, and there's a lot of speculation about whether they would move up to 1 to get their guy of choice in Chicago's spot, since they don't need a quarterback, or the Texans at 2, or any of these quarterback-needy teams, who's your flavor? Who's your particular favorite quarterback out of this group of 3, since we've already eliminated Will Levis from Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young by a pretty good margin. I still have Stroud as a top 12, 15-ish player. Bryce Young's a top 5 player. Anthony Richardson more fringe top 20, and then you have Levis, like we said. So here's the kicker for me if you're the Colts. If you go up to 1, not only are you getting the best quarterback, you're also hurting a division rival in Houston where you're getting him. But if that trade package is too much to Chicago, I have no problem sitting at 4 and taking C.J. Stroud. Your offensive line needs to be better. You need to continuously give him a pocket to keep him upright, let him dissect the field, go through his reads. He can make any throw at all 3 levels. So it's really a 2-man race with the quarterbacks to me. Richardson will go in the top 10 because he has all the tools in the world. He's a really high-end talent. He needs a redshirt year. He's a really young guy. Levis is getting closer to 24. Richardson played the season as a 20-year-old, so he needs more seasoning. He needs more time, like Mahomes got, like Jordan Love has gotten, although Jordan Love, they've left that one sitting there a little bit too long, some would say. So I think at the end of the day, I would go all in for Bryce Young if the price was right. No problem with the consolation of Stroud.
I think that's the best way to do it. But even if the price is a little expensive, if the Colts, much like the Jets, going through this quarterback carousel, you got an opportunity to solidify and get the best guy, assuming they believe he's the best guy, you pay that price and keep him out of Houston. Because the worst thing could happen in Indianapolis is you sat and waited, let Houston get the quarterback they wanted, and now you got to deal with him for the next 10, 12 years. The kid's the real deal. I agree with you. Bryce Young's that dude. I wouldn't worry about his size personally, but I get it. It's that time of year. We got to nitpick everything, right? Appreciate you, Connor. I'll see you in Indianapolis, brother.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
I think what I'm proudest about is, I wanted to play in the NBA, but I also realized that 1, I wasn't good enough, and 2, it was hard to get there. So if I can't play in the NBA, the best thing to do is maybe figure out a way to be there. And I figured out a way to be there as a sports journalist. So to be able to do that and have covered the NBA since '99 and to get to the Hall of Fame this way, it's cool, man.
So I, like many people, refer to Marc J. Spears of Anscape as Big Bro. And not just because he's 6'7", but like Marc is just that dude when it comes to leadership and mentorship and pouring into people and supporting his brothers and sisters. He's one of the most influential members of the Sports Task Force over the years when it comes to the National Association of Black Journalists. He's led the Sports Task Force. Throws a damn good party at NABJ, by the way, sidebar. But I couldn't be prouder and happier of Marc J. Spears, because nobody's more deserving of the Curt Gowdy Media Award as bestowed upon him by the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You heard his remarks just now. The award is named in honor, just so people can understand the significance of this, named in honor of the late Curt Gowdy, legendary sports broadcaster, former Hall of Fame board member and president. This prestigious award is presented to members of the print, which Marc J. Spears is, print, electronic, and transformative media whose efforts have made a significant contribution to the game of basketball. You're a great storyteller, but when somebody tells the story of Marc J. Spears, what does this honor mean to you in your journey, Marc?
I don't really like tooting my own horn, man, but I think earlier what I said in the video is kind of where it all began. I decided I wanted to be a sports writer in the 7th grade after hearing a stat that less than 2% of all college basketball players make it to the NBA. I was a realistic kid. I knew that was a long shot. And so I wanted to prepare myself just in case I couldn't make it. So, I got some incredible guidance. There was a columnist named Mark Purdy from the San Jose Mercury News. I wrote him and he told me what to do from 7th grade through college, and how to become a sports writer and it worked. And so I was told by a coach once, Ed Epps, the late Ed Epps from University of DC, if you cared about basketball as much as you do that goddamn journalism, you'd be a hell of a player. Well, I mean, I was playing at UDC, so I know the NBA wasn't calling me, right? So, it all worked out, and I think it's the storytelling, it's the getting, behind the curtain with players, it's talking about social justice and a lot of the things over the last couple of years that people are uncomfortable about, talking about race, that perhaps that was what helped me get in. I'm certainly, look, man, when I get in on the 11th, bro, you better be there August 11th. It ain't that far ride for you, so you better be there.
August 11th, I'm there. I'm absolutely there. And I would just add to that, Mark.
They can put my name in the closet. They can put it upside down, but I'm in. Right.
You in, brother. You in. You made it. I would just add to that, Natalie, before we pass to you, is like, and Natalie could attest to this, it is your work. You're a brilliant reporter and writer, but it's, to me, when I think of Marc Spears, I just think about the way you move, and I think about the way you interact with everybody in the NBA community, from players to executives to coaches to other media members, and there's just this universal respect that stars and two-way players alike have for you as a man. And I think that's your biggest, if I may say so, your biggest Hall of Fame quality. As great as your work is, your work ethic and the way that you just navigate is something that I've always admired and looked up to. And I know Natalie got a chance to see it in person recently.
Well, she was moving so much, she wasn't paying no attention to me, man.
Not true. Not true. I always check for the.
With Steph Curry, you know what I'm saying? She was doing her thing.
I always check for the GOATs like you. And I mean, I just want to keep giving you more flowers too, because I saw that you're going to be a commencement speaker for Langston University. So,
yes.
Just incredible. And then I was just in awe, even though it's probably second nature to you, but you sat down with AI at All-Star. And, like, he's a cultural icon, for, in terms of just his NBA legacy. And so people like me, I still get like awed, but are you in awe like when you sit down with like someone like AI to talk to him still, or is it just like second nature to you?
Can it be both?
Yes, it can.
You know what I mean?
I think that helps. It helps if it's both.
Yeah. It's probably like Mike with, Tom Brady. He'd been around Tom Brady, but it's still Tom Brady, right? I covered Allen for 2 years with the Denver Nuggets. And I think at first, when I first got to be around him, I was expecting this ego. I was expecting this aura. And he was a superstar, don't get me wrong, right? He was. But once I was able to get past that bridge with him, man, he's one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life, man. One of the sweetest and caring people that, like, when he sees you, he hugs you if he knows you. He asks how you're doing. And he just has so much passion for life and passion for being Allen Iverson. And I don't know if he got mad at me but I know him really well, probably too well. And I didn't think anybody had asked him about John Thompson passing. And so when I talked to him at All-Star Weekend, and he graced me with some amazing minutes, it's always amazing minutes with him. He looked at me, "Goddamn, Mark. Damn, why you gonna ask me about that?" And I'm like, "Oh man, my bad. Well, I'm gonna talk about that." Like, so he didn't end up talking about that, tearing up and talking about John Thompson. So, he is certainly one of my favorite people ever in this business, man. Like that's the video right here. He looked at me like, "Why you gonna bring that?" He said, "Why you gonna bring that up, Mark?" But he loved John Thompson like his own father.
John Thompson saved his life, right? He said that, hasn't he?
So,
yeah.
It's these conversations, man. That's what I love the most is being able to talk to people like him. And I miss my conversations with Kobe Bryant. But I truly believe that every player has a great story. You just got to find it. But with Allen, there's 100 great stories with Allen Iverson, man.
Of course.
It's always a joy talking to him.
Of course. Mark, I can't let you be here and not ask you a question about the Warriors because, I mean, I wouldn't be doing a good job. I'm just curious as this post All-Star break, Dre made some comments when he was on the broadcast like, it's the Warriors Invitational. It still goes through us. Do you think, and that there could be some history made as like one of the teams maybe in history to come, you know, be a lower seed and make it. Do you think that's possible for the Warriors?
It's the Warriors Invitational until somebody knocks them out. They're champs. It's on the back of their, warm-up jackets until somebody knocks them out, no matter what their, situation is. Yeah, he has the right to say that. And if they weren't champs, he couldn't. But they are champs till somebody proves otherwise. Now, is their situation amazing? No, it's certainly scary. I think the key for the Warriors, I think the key for any team in the Western Conference right now is just be in the top six. Just be in the top six, man. Don't get in that play-in situation. Like right now, it's very possible where it looks like, the Warriors could be in another play-in situation with the Lakers. They don't want that, right? But I was talking to somebody the other day. They're like, okay, if Denver's the top seed and the Warriors are 8th, who are you taking? The Warriors are healthy.
I'm taking the Warriors all day.
Yeah. Okay, wait. All right. We got to let you go shortly. But bonus question. Knowing that you would take the Warriors in that scenario, does that give you hesitation?
I just asked the question. Okay.
Okay, I'll ask this real quick, and I need a quick answer because I got to let you go. Is there any hesitation in voting for Nikola Jokic for a third straight MVP if you're not confident in his postseason capabilities?
Right now, I think it's Tatum.
So it's a moot point. It's a moot point. There you go.
But you got to remember, that's a regular season record. It's not a postseason record. So
it's a regular season award. Thank you. Natalie, we were both right. We were both right. Love you. Thank you, Spears. Love you.
Love you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I'll see you August 11th if I don't see you before then.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.